Okay, next form of factorising we're going to look at is this idea of what we call completing the square. Now, when we complete the square, what we're doing, we're taking our general form and turning it into a turning point form. So general form to turning point form, and we do that by completing the square. Now, when we complete the square, this tells us that if we had our graph, I may run out of space. That's our graph, and also it's the x-axis, and this is our graph. We have a turning point at H and K. So just like we found the x-intercepts when we put it in factor form, in turning point form we find the turning point. Now we can also use this to determine if there's any x-intercepts. Basically, if A is positive and K is negative, we have an x-intercept, and the graph will look like what we've got here. If A is negative and K is positive, then our graph will do that. So that's how we know if we've got x-intercepts. If they're both positive or they're both negative, we don't have any x-intercepts. Okay, on to the examples. So basically what we do is to write an equation in turning point form, you're only going to have an A if you've got an A as a coefficient of x. So we're not going to have that for any of these. So we can forget about that for now. Basically what we want to do, we want to look at our B value. So B value, halve it and square it. And by doing that, let's see if I've got enough room here. We'll have ax squared plus bx, and then we halve and square it, plus b over 2 all squared minus b over 2 all squared plus c. And now what will happen is this will factorise nicely just by putting in x plus b over 2 all squared. And then we solve the rest of it, minus b over 2 plus c. So let's have a look at these. So we've got x squared plus 10x. So we're going to halve this and square it, and then add it and subtract that value. So we'll write x squared plus 10x. So we halve 10. So put 10 plus 10 over 2 squared minus 10 over 2 squared. I'm running out of space already. A little bit too eager. Anyhow, so then we're left with x squared plus 10x plus 5 minus 5. That's going to be squared, that's going to be squared. So, like I said, this will now become x plus 5. So whatever term we've got there, we can put here. We square that, because basically we are grouping those three minus 25. So that's what that's how we go off, and I'll solve that one. As a second example, I'll put this underneath here. So we've got x squared minus 20x. Put a line through that. So once again, we halve this and square it. So we've got x squared minus 20x, halve it and square it. So we've got plus half of that, which is 10, square 10, we have 100, minus 100. So we're adding 0, we're not changing it at all. But we're going through, but we are just putting in a couple of extra numbers. So now we factorise that, and we have x minus 10 all squared minus 100. And just leave it in this form. Don't go off and try to factorise like they recommend in the book. Just leave it in that form. So basically what this is doing is this tells us we've got a turning point at negative 5 and negative 25. We've got a turning point at 10 and negative 100. Okay, on to this one. A little bit more complicated. We've got an extra term here. So here we're going to have x squared minus 4x. We're going to halve that and square it. So plus half it, which is 2, square it, which makes 4. And we do minus 4 minus 7. Factorise those, and we've got x minus 2 all squared. And we've still got our negative 4 minus 7, so it becomes negative 11. Okay, our last one. X squared minus 7x. So with this one, it's not as neat because we're going to be left with a fraction answer. So for here we say this becomes now x squared minus 7x plus 3 over 2 squared minus 3 over 2 squared minus 1. Now, this is what I was saying before. We leave this, we put this inside our brackets. So we don't have to square it, we don't have to work it out at all, we don't have to do anything with it. I was just doing it for these just to save writing it, but for here, we're going to leave it in that form. So we're going to have x minus 3 over 2 all squared minus, now we're going to work with these parts here. So we got minus, so we've got 9 over 4 minus, we'll convert this 1 to something over 4, which is 4 over 4. So then we've got x minus 3 over 2 all squared minus 13 over 4. So we're converting to turning point form. We do that by taking our b value, halving it and squaring it, and adding that value to our expression, and then subtracting it. So so these will cancel. But this allows the factorize the first 3 terms and simplify the last 3. So that's how we go about writing our equation in turning point form.